I'm home, guys. Turns out I could come home early today after all. I also brought back some of your favorite cake, Sherry. Why are you guys ignoring me all the time? Who the hell do you think you are, ignoring the person who provides everything you need to survive?
My name is Allison Kobayashi, and I'm a 30-year-old housewife. At the time of this particular story, I was living together with my husband, Gideon, and my daughter, Sherry, who was in the 1st grade. Our family was very close, and we were happy every day. We went on trips together on weekends, and we always had dinner together, whether it was at home or somewhere outside on special occasions. Tragically, though, it didn't take long for our happy family to be destroyed. It seemingly all happened in the blink of an eye. One day, Sherry came home from school and suddenly shut herself in her room. This was definitely not like her, because every day she would normally exclaim, "I'm home!" in that lustrous, energetic voice of hers, and we'd have a small snack together. But the fact that she went into her room without even saying anything at all made me suspect something must be wrong. I rushed to my daughter's room, but when I attempted to open the door, I discovered she'd locked it. My suspicions were pretty much confirmed by then, and convinced she needed someone to talk to. I knocked on the door and called out her name. "Sherry? Are you in there, sweetheart? What's going on? Did something happen at school?" I asked her, and she didn't respond, but I could hear her crying in her room. I came to believe this was the result of some kind of trouble at school. I kept on knocking on her door, calling to her as gently and compassionately as I could, hoping to get some kind of response. I know it sounds like I'm being annoyingly persistent, but you can't blame a mother worrying about her own daughter, who could be crying alone in her room. A few minutes later, she came out of her room and she really was crying. And boy oh boy was she crying a lot. Her cheeks were completely drenched and warm to the touch, and snot was running out of her nose onto her lips. I feared the worst, and I almost started to cry myself, but I forced myself to keep my cool, hugged her, and listened to her story as she began to speak. Then, Sherry made a shocking statement.
"Daddy was hugging a friend of yours, Mommy, in the parking lot of the big shop with all the food. Many people could see them. I saw them, but I don't know if they saw me."
I was so surprised that I asked her for some more details.
"My friend Tommy's mom picked me up from school today. Don't worry, I told her thank you many times, Mommy. And on the way home, we went past the big shop with all the vegetables in big boxes outside. I love looking at all the colors, and I looked out the window of the car to look at the vegetables, and I saw Daddy and your friend together, Mommy. I wanted to open the window and say hello to them, but then they started hugging."
She started to bawl again. Her sadness was so genuine and so pure that it twisted and wrenched my heart. Did Tommy's mommy see them too?
"No, I don't think she saw them. I was about to cry as soon as I knew it was Daddy, but I held it in, Mommy."
Way to go, Sherry. Oh, sweetheart, I'm so proud of you, and I'm very sorry you feel so sad. So according to my daughter's testimony, Gideon was having an affair with one of my friends from Sherry's school. Since I was completely convinced our family was close and happy, I never dreamed he would ever have an affair, and I felt nothing but shame and apology that Sherry had seen the affair with her own eyes. I couldn't do anything but hug her. All I could do in that moment was to hug her, trying my best to console her, apologize to her again and again and again. Eventually, I started to cry too. After a short while, Sherry calmed down, and I was thinking about starting to cook dinner when I received a message from Gideon. The message said he was going to come home late. I had one look at my phone and froze dead still. Sherry noticed and called out to me.
"Mommy, what's wrong?"
"Oh, nothing, honey. Daddy's just going to be home late."
"Daddy's a big liar. I loved you so much, Daddy. Now I hate you so much. You hurt Mommy, and you made me very sad. I hate you."
Sherry was utterly and completely furious, but the expression on her face was pure sadness. "How about we play a little game, sweetie? Let's play secret game. We're a team against Daddy, okay? Here are the rules. First, we don't tell Daddy about him hugging another woman. And second, Mommy will go do some detective work, and you won't worry about anything. Do you think we can win the game, darling? I know that telling a child not to worry about anything isn't exactly the most ideal thing to do, but what else could I say, especially in that situation? That's all I could think of that was reassuring. We slept in the same bed that night, hugging each other and comforting each other. Gideon seemed to have come home later on, but he didn't call out to us, nor did he say anything to us at all. He apparently went to work early the next day, because we never saw each other that morning. The next morning, I saw a now more recovered Sherry off to school, and then I ran to a trusted detective agency. I asked them to investigate a love affair against my husband, and they told me it would take about a month before they could give me any substantial results. If there was evidence that confirmed Gideon was having an affair, they promised to contact me before they whipped up the report. Thereafter, some time passed before I heard from them again. Not so long as an entire month, but it was certainly more than 2 weeks. Being together with my husband for that long, knowing that he was actively being unfaithful to his family, was nothing but agony. It was like running a marathon, knowing that I was heading straight into a thunderstorm. And when they would contact me, claiming they now had firm evidence to confirm a suspected affair, and I, in turn, would have to face up to whom he was having an affair with, I despised the notion that someone else would find about the affair because my husband was with one of my friends from Sherry's school. Even I hated having to know who the woman was, and the fact that it was Gideon who was persuading her to go out with him made me absolutely sick. I don't think I ever felt this uncomfortable and disgusted towards another human being. Sherry and I were so disgusted with Gideon that we played the secret game like true professionals. We did our best not to talk to him at all. Sherry actually stopped approaching her father altogether.
Is she going through a bit of a rebellious period lately? It's a bit early, isn't it?
Gideon never had a clue in the world, and kept on saying carefree things like that. I was just so sick and tired of his existence. One day, while leading such a stressful life, I was contacted by the detective agency. I was both happy and scared to find out all the bad things my husband had done. The staff at the detective agency reminded me that this was only a draft, an interim, and that it wasn't to be taken too seriously just yet. I received some photographs in my email. By that point, I knew for sure that he really was cheating on me. And the photographs were all taken at the same supermarket where Sherry had first caught sight of them being unfaithful. I couldn't understand why they were hugging each other in the supermarket so often. I couldn't help but feel sick to my stomach once again. It felt worse than my morning sickness, which was already quite the doozy. And when I saw the woman in the photographs, I gawked at the screen, stunned and speechless. The woman, whom he was having an affair with, was none other than my best friend, Anna. Anna often came over to our house, and Sherry liked her very much, so much so that she considered her an aunt. Whenever she came over, Sherry ran up to her and asked her to play, and then they would have lots of fun together. Sherry's favorite thing to do with her Auntie Anna was going to theme parks together. Of all the women that could have been having the affair with my husband, she was literally the last person I was expecting. I just couldn't believe what I saw, and the fact that Sherry was the first to see the crime itself. Oh, Sherry, darling, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Needless to say, I was downright furious with Gideon. I was able to find out about the current status of the affair through the interim report that the detective agency, but they informed me that it would take a little more time to prepare a report eligible for the court. Therefore, I didn't question Gideon about the affair, and I was left with no other choice but to live with him as if nothing was happening. I could not forgive my husband for cheating on me, but I thought that it was not good for me to be a single parent, for Sherry's sake. However, she was asking me questions about her father's affair, and as days went by, it became increasingly difficult to keep everything from her. So eventually, I decided to tell her. She may still be in the first grade, but she was the one who first had a clear understanding of what was going on. She first uncovered the affair, after all.
I hate Daddy for cheating on you, Mommy. He hurt you, and he hurt me too. I hate him. I want to be with you, Mommy. Please don't make me stay with Daddy.
As she said that, she hugged me very tightly. I hugged her back tightly too. I can no longer live with the husband who betrayed us, and we can no longer live together as a family. Even if I stay at home like this, it won't be good for our future as a married couple, nor will have a positive impact on Sherry's future. So right then, I set my mind on getting a divorce. From that day, it would take about another month before the report from the detective agency arrived, but Sherry and I actively began to avoid any form of contact with Gideon. We didn't have any conversations with him. We didn't invite him out on any family trips on the weekends, and we never asked how his days at work were. Both of us began to see Gideon as something that wasn't human, more like an abomination that was going to be terminated very soon. I made an interesting new discovery that night, that someone you loved once upon a time can appear as something completely aberrant when you really can't accept their existence anymore. Gideon started coming home at different times every day. There were days when he was very busy and worked late. Some days he came home on time. Of course, my husband didn't know that I was investigating his affair, so I had to treat him as usual. But I couldn't have a conversation with him, and nor could Sherry, because of how much we despised him after what he did. Even during the meals, day after day, conversation was zilch, and often, not even a single word was uttered. One day, I received a message from Gideon saying that he had to work late, but he came home earlier than I expected. My darling Sherry and I were having a nice talk over dinner, but when Gideon came home all of a sudden, our conversation came to an instant halt. I actually felt the air in the room get colder by a couple degrees.
I'm home, guys. Turns out I could come home early today after all. I also brought back some of your favorite cake, Sherry. Why the hell are you guys ignoring me all the time?
By this point, he was talking to us pretty loudly, but of course, we kept on ignoring him.
Where the hell's my food?
He was getting furious, but of course, we couldn't care less and paid no attention to his exhilarating tantrum. Why? Because he said he had to work late, so I didn't prepare anything for him? In any case, I was sure that by I could come home early today meant that his girlfriend couldn't make it to their little romantic soiree together.
Who the hell do you think you are, ignoring the person who provides everything you need to survive?
As he shouted these words, he slammed his fist onto the table. The shockwave made the table bounce into the air for a split second, and as a result, a couple dishes fell off. The dishes shattered against the wooden floor, spilling a bunch of food all over the place, and making the floor what appeared to be vomit of a drunken crackhead just outside a smoky downtown jazz bar. And still, we ignored him. We ignored him so long that he actually got scared.
Wait a minute. Hang on. I'm not invisible. Am I?
I almost laughed when he said this as he began to place his hands all around his body. After I confirmed that he wasn't see-through, he still went on endeavoring to get something out of us, but of course we ignored him.
You're mad because I didn't come home on time? I'm sorry, honey. I guess I should just get my own dinner. I'll just leave the cake on the kitchen counter, okay?
He's saying such things, still feeling around all over his body, trying to reconfirm that he really wasn't invisible, but I never wavered in ignoring him. No matter how many times he could check, there's no damn way he'd be transparent, and that's only because we were simply ignoring him, treating him as though he didn't exist.
Hey Sherry, sweetie, how about going to the amusement park next weekend? I'm thinking about buying some tickets. It's been a long time we last went to that place, hasn't it?
He was trying so hard to get her attention, but she was being such a good girl. Gideon went on talking, trying to get our attention back, and frankly, I wondered how in the world he could talk to us when we were both considering him dead to us.
Hey guys, I'm begging you, answer me. Why are you two treating me as if I don't even exist? Did I do something wrong? Come on, guys. Tell me, please. Am I on my way to heaven? Maybe you can't even see me for some reason. Maybe I'm something beyond invisible. Maybe I don't even exist anymore. Or maybe I have some kind of superpower. I could be the leader of the Justice League right now.
I can't tell you how many times I've had to hold back my laughter because he's just been talking about hilarious nonsense to himself while it's being ignored for so long. Perhaps he really got scared because of how much we weren't paying attention to him, because he bolted out of the house.
I am still alive, right?
Is the mysterious statement that he left behind. Sherry and I laughed.
Daddy thought he was a ghost. He looks so funny.
He almost made me laugh, darling. Great job ignoring him. I think you deserve a piece of that cake. We got up from the table laughing, and we laughed and laughed as we washed our dishes and helped ourselves to some slice of cake. He doesn't think we know that he's cheating on us. He merely got frightened and went out to see if he was still alive. Perhaps he assumed that if he had tried to stay at home, he would eventually think he really had become a spirit of sorts. By the time 2 weeks had passed since my husband ran from the house, my daughter and I were living happily in a traitor-free environment, without anyone to suspect of foul play, and without source of negative emotions whatsoever. And then the papers arrived from the detective agency. I paid a visit to the lawyer's office and asked for a lawyer to help us in a court case against Gideon. After we made sure that all the evidence was in place, with a professional's help, we began the divorce proceedings quickly. The service of the lawyers were absolutely fantastic, and things went very smoothly. All in one day, they prepared the documents, walked me through the legal procedure, and even guided me as I signed them right then and there. It was sent to my husband and Anna, and they informed me that it would arrive to their doorstep in 2 or 3 days. Since I didn't know where my husband was at the moment, we made sure the documents would arrive at his job and at his parents' house. 2 days after we sent the content certificate, Anna suddenly contacted me. The content certified letter specifically stated the receiver not to contact the sender directly, but perhaps she failed to notice it. I didn't want to answer the phone, but I thought that Sherry would be concerned after a while if it kept ringing, so I decided to answer. When I did, it came across way too loud and clear through the phone that she was pissed off beyond all recognition. "What the hell are you doing demanding alimony from me, Allison? You're out of your mind! You're crazy! You're bonkers! Why would you ever think I wouldn't sue you? Because your husband forced himself on me. I have no obligation to pay you anything. I actually want alimony as much as you do." She didn't seem to be cooperative regarding the demands for alimony. But I kept a calm mind as I talked to her. I mean, perhaps he did force himself onto you, but you still gave voluntary consent to have a romantic relationship with him. The simple fact that you accepted his proposal, forceful or not, makes you just as guilty as he. And additionally, the fact that you've been in a relationship for so long makes everything crystal clear. This was never a one-way street. You also had feelings for him, which is why you never backed out of the affair because it was too late, and that's why you're getting demands to pay alimony. You betrayed my daughter's trust, Anna. Do you have any idea how much pain she's been going through? He told me that if I refused him, he would destroy my relationship with you. Ironic, isn't it? Because it's destroyed anyway. If you truly felt like he was backing you into a corner, allowing you no way out, you should have talked to me about it. You've been actively having an affair with him for 10 whole years. That excuse is not going to convince anyone. How do you know about that? That furious Anna was now nowhere to be seen. I could definitely hear her voice shaking now. Yes, you heard right. Gideon and Anna had actively been having an affair for 10 whole years, and there's firm evidence supporting the conclusion. When the detective agency was doing their investigation, I'd also asked them to find out how long he'd been having the affair. To do so, they had to investigate his belongings. While my husband was away for work one day, a staff member from the detective agency was scheduled to visit my home. They asked me to lead them to my husband's room, and I helped with the search. After perhaps 20 minutes, we found his old computer, which he had replaced in his closet. After repairing the computer and recovering the data, it was discovered that the computer contained emails sent between Gideon and Anna. The exchange went on for years, with the oldest recorded message sent by Anna, no less, on June 6, 2013. and that was 10 years ago. When I told Anna all of this, she started to bawl on the phone.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for hurting you, and for hurting darling Sherry. I promise, I'll make sure you never see me again. I'll keep apologizing until you forgive me, and I'll do whatever you say. But please, I'm begging you, please don't ask me to pay alimony.
In her voice, I could literally hear her getting down on her knees as she begged me. I finally had the chance to raise my voice to my best friend, who had less common sense than a drowned codfish, by pleading me to have merciful and hold off demanding alimony for her crime. Apologize to me? For the rest of your life? Don't ever contact me or have anything to do with me or my daughter ever again. You destroyed our family. And now what? You want me to spare poor little Anna of her heinous deed and decide not to demand compensation? Don't you dare do anything other than what I'm about to ask you. First, stay out of our damn lives. And second, take responsibility for what you've done and pay well for it. I yell at her. I couldn't believe she was ever my friend, but then she starts to tell me why she doesn't want me to demand alimony from her. Last year, both of my parents were killed in a car accident, leaving my baby brother, who's 17 now, without any guardian to support him. His grandparents were retired in Australia, and I'm literally all he has left. And I want him to go to college. I'm working every day to save up for his school fees, and I can't afford to pay alimony. I know apologizing won't be of any use, and I know you'll never forgive me, but I simply can't afford to pay you alimony without sacrificing my brother's future. Please, Allison. We've been best friends for so long. We did so many things together in school, particularly matching costumes and stuff like that, and we had a lot of fun, didn't we? Who would have thought we'd also have matching husbands? And after that, the same stupid bullshit of begging for my forgiveness. I was sick of her voice. I was sick of her begging. I was sick of her. You were cheating on my husband and destroyed our happy family. And now that your own family is in trouble, you won't dare take responsibility? You're an adult, for crying out loud. Frickin' take responsibility for what you've done. I will apologize for the rest of my life, and I will do whatever it takes. Just anything but paying alimony, please. Please, please. Even after everything I'd said, she still wouldn't back down. I was just about to vomit, hearing her whiny, pathetic voice crying the whole time, so I said one last thing before hanging up the phone. I know that for those who engaged in an unfaithful affair, should the victim request it, the perpetrators must be responsible and pay alimony accordingly. This is common knowledge, and yet you never try to stop the affair, so the responsibility is yours to bear. I expect you to face up to it. I never heard from her again after that. Soon after that call, I got another call, this time from my husband. My husband was exactly like Anna. He told me stupid bullshit about how she forced him to go out with her, and that he couldn't say no, and so on and so forth. Blah, blah, blah. I never spoke a word and just hung up during his sentence. I was also feeling a little under the weather, and fell asleep on the couch. While I was asleep, Sherry had apparently called my parents from my phone, and I explained the situation to them. By the time I woke up, Sherry and my parents had cooked for me and were watching me sleep. Sherry was snoozing too, with that cute little stuffed bunny doll she loved. My parents explained what their granddaughter did, and I cried because my daughter had grown up so much. We were spending such a wonderful time together as a family, when all of a sudden, out of the blue, Gideon, who had lost so much weight since I last saw him, unlocked the front door and trudged inside. I don't know how long it had been since we had seen each other, but he looked so different. None of us knew who he was, and because he had changed so much, we saw him as a suspicious person. The first time Sherry saw him, she got so scared and started to cry.
Sherry, sweetie, it's me, your daddy. Calling me a prowler is cruel. So cruel.
He looked like he was about to cry too. Then he started talking, his voice cracking and his legs shaking.
I saw the content certificate. I'm so sorry. I swear on my life I will never do this again. I just don't want a divorce. That's all I want to talk about. I know you don't love me anymore, and I know I can't bring you to love me again, but I want to see my darling Sherry grow up as much as you do, Allison.
He was sobbing by this point, but it's not taking any effect on me. I'm sorry. I can't believe you anymore. Not only have you lost my love, you've lost my trust forever. I just can't anymore.
Please, please, please.
My husband was on his knees. My father spoke up.
I suppose you understand the gravity of what you've done, son. I demand you stay away from my daughter and granddaughter. They mean more to me than life itself, and I won't have any scummy bastard trying to ruin their happiness.
His voice was terrifying. Gideon went a few shades paler and tried to run away out the front door, but he turned around once more and looked at Sherry, who was wiping her eyes and sniffing snot from her lips.
Sherry, my dearest, you need your daddy, right? You want your daddy to stay, right?
He was actually trying to appeal to her, but then Sherry finished him off.
Who is this old man, Mommy? I don't want him in my house.
Gideon then left the house in tears. After that, the divorce was finalized through my lawyers. Sherry and I moved back into my parents' house. The school district was the same, so fortunately, my daughter's environment didn't change much. My husband couldn't afford to pay the rent for the big apartment anymore, and after selling it, he moved into a dirt cheap flat somewhere on the outskirts of the city. At work, word somehow got out that he had divorced his wife because of an affair. As a result, all the female employees lost their trust in him, and they all stopped talking to him. Gideon became increasingly lonely in the company. His reputation eventually became one as an unfaithful, untrustworthy employee, and thus, getting promoted to greatness was now a dream of the internally condemned. His salary never went up, and his superiors never gave him any challenging work or projects to handle. It seems Gideon doesn't consider his job to be very rewarding anymore, and now his personal and professional life both seem to be in limbo. As for Anna, she had had to earn money for her baby brother, who was apparently at the top of his school for his studies. He showed a lot of potential for a scholarship, and due to his parents passing in a car accident, Anna was responsible for providing the money that paid for her brother's tuition and other miscellaneous school fees. But now, she has to pay alimony for what she did. She simply didn't have enough, so she changed her job and now she is working non-stop. Eventually, her brother found out about her affair, and now he won't talk to her anymore.
Just pay me the money and I'll be fine. Ugh, I really despise an unfaithful, dirty woman like you, Anna. I scorn you.
Is what he told her before he went away to university somewhere in a rural area. Anna was left with her own misery, paying for her brother's school and paying me the alimony, never getting a chance to have anything to do with her darling brother again. As for Sherry and I, we are now living very happily in her grandparents' home. I've started a new job myself, and although I'm in a new, unfamiliar environment, I'm going to do my best to make enough money for my daughter's bright future. Sherry's seen some traumatic things in life at such an early age, but ever since she started spending more time with her angelic grandparents, she's getting more energetic and happy with every passing day. From now on, I'm going to do everything in my power to protect her from negative experiences and make sure that she lives the happy life she deserves.